How Ibrahim Traoré transformed Burkina Faso with free education and zero taxes. What if a country, pushed to the edge of collapse by foreign interference and violent extremism, was suddenly at the center of a global firestorm? Imagine social media buzzing with two incredible claims. First, that education, from grade school to university, would now be totally free. And second, that the government had launched a zero-tax revolution, tearing up the economic rulebook. This isn't a what-if scenario. This is the real story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso and his high-stakes effort to forge a new future for 23 million people. He took charge of a nation on its knees, a country rich in gold but drowning in poverty. In the face of impossible odds, he didn't just propose new policies, he declared a whole new philosophy for Burkina Faso, one centered on self-reliance and national pride. But behind the powerful speeches and the viral hype, what's really happening on the ground? How do you actually fund a revolution? This is the story you won't get from the mainstream headlines. In a bold move to revolutionize Burkina Faso's future, President Ibrahim Traoré launched a groundbreaking initiative, Empowering Tomorrow. This visionary program aimed to provide free education from primary school to university level, ensuring every Burkinabe citizen could access quality learning without financial burdens. To fuel economic growth, President Traoré also introduced tax-free incentives for investors, enticing entrepreneurs and businesses to pour into the country. The results were staggering: universities flourished, innovation hubs sprouted, and the economy boomed. As schools became hubs for creativity and innovation, the nation saw a surge in young leaders, scientists, and entrepreneurs. Investors from around the world took notice, injecting capital into sectors like renewable energy, agriculture, and technology. Burkina Faso transformed into a beacon of hope and opportunity, with President Traoré's leadership at the helm. The once struggling nation now thrived, its people empowered by knowledge and driven by progress. Under President Traoré's vision, Burkina Faso's education system underwent a seismic shift. State-of-the-art schools and universities sprouted across the nation, equipped with cutting-edge technology and staffed by top-notch educators. Students from all walks of life flocked to these institutions, eager to acquire knowledge and skills that would propel them into the global arena. The tax-free incentives for investors proved to be a masterstroke. Entrepreneurs and corporations from around the world poured in, establishing cutting-edge factories, renewable energy farms, and innovative startups. The nation's economy roared to life, creating thousands of jobs and opportunities for its citizens. As the years passed, Burkina Faso transformed into a hub for innovation and progress. The nation's capital, Ouagadougou, became a hotspot for tech conferences, entrepreneurial summits, and cultural festivals. The once struggling nation now shone as a beacon of hope and opportunity in West Africa. President Traoré's leadership was hailed as a game-changer. His commitment to empowering the youth and attracting investment had paid off in spectacular fashion. The people of Burkina Faso celebrated their newfound prosperity, knowing their future was brighter than ever. The world took notice, and soon, Burkina Faso became a model for development and growth in the region. Leaders from neighboring countries flocked to Ouagadougou to learn from President Traoré's successes and adapt his strategies for their own nations. As the nation continued to soar, one thing was clear: President Ibrahim Traoré's bold initiatives had sparked a revolution in Burkina Faso, one that would echo for generations to come. As Burkina Faso's star continued to rise, President Traoré remained committed to his vision of a prosperous and self-sufficient nation. He introduced initiatives to promote sustainable agriculture, harnessing the country's rich natural resources to become a breadbasket for West Africa. The nation's capital, Ouagadougou, became a hub for international conferences and summits, attracting thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators from around the world. Burkina Faso's universities produced highly skilled graduates, many of whom went on to become leaders in their fields, driving innovation and progress. The tax-free incentives continued to attract investors, and the country's economy flourished. Burkina Faso became a hotspot for renewable energy, with massive solar farms and wind parks sprouting across the landscape. The nation began to export clean energy to neighboring countries, generating significant revenue. President Traoré's popularity soared, and he became a respected voice on the international stage. He used his platform to advocate for African development, pushing for increased investment and cooperation between nations. As the years passed, Burkina Faso's transformation became nothing short of remarkable. The nation had overcome decades of struggle and emerged as a beacon of hope and progress. The people celebrated their newfound prosperity, knowing that their future was bright. One day, President Traoré stood before the nation, his eyes shining with pride. "My fellow Burkinabés," he declared, "we have achieved greatness, but our journey is far from over. Let us continue to strive for excellence, to innovate, and to push the boundaries of what is possible." The crowd erupted in cheers, knowing that with President Traoré at the helm, Burkina Faso's future was limitless. As President Traoré's presidency continued to shine, he faced new challenges. Some critics argued that the tax-free incentives, while attracting foreign investment, had also led to a reliance on external capital. Others pointed out that the benefits of growth hadn't been evenly distributed, with some regions and communities lagging behind. Determined to address these concerns, President Traoré launched a new initiative, Burkina Faso 2025, aimed at promoting sustainable and inclusive development. The program focused on supporting local entrepreneurship, promoting small and medium-sized enterprises, and investing in infrastructure for underserved regions. To ensure that the nation's growth was environmentally sustainable, President Traoré also introduced measures to protect Burkina Faso's natural resources. He established national parks and protected areas, promoted ecotourism, and invested in renewable energy solutions. As the nation continued to evolve, President Traoré remained committed to his vision of a prosperous, self-sufficient, and sustainable Burkina Faso. The nation's progress served as a beacon of hope for the region, inspiring neighboring countries to follow in its footsteps. President Traoré looked out over the thriving cityscape of Ouagadougou. He knew that his work was far from over. But he was proud of what Burkina Faso had achieved, and he remained optimistic about the nation's future. "Burkina Faso's story is one of hope and resilience," he said in a speech to the nation. "We have shown that with determination, hard work, and a shared vision, even the most ambitious dreams can become a reality." The crowd erupted in applause, knowing that President Traoré's leadership had transformed their nation in ways they never thought possible. Under President Traoré's continued leadership, Burkina Faso's growth accelerated, and the nation became a model for sustainable development in West Africa. The country's economy diversified, with thriving industries in agriculture, manufacturing, and technology. Burkina Faso's reputation as a hub for innovation and entrepreneurship attracted top talent from around the world. The nation's universities produced highly skilled graduates, many of whom went on to become leaders in their fields, driving innovation and progress. President Traoré's commitment to sustainable development earned him international recognition. He was awarded the prestigious African Leader of the Year award, recognizing his efforts to promote economic growth, reduce poverty, and protect the environment. The nation's youth, empowered by access to quality education and opportunities, began to drive innovation and entrepreneurship. Startups sprouted in tech hubs, focusing on solutions for Africa's unique challenges. Burkina Faso's creative industry flourished, with artists, musicians, and writers gaining international recognition. Tourism boomed, drawn by the nation's rich cultural heritage, stunning natural beauty, and vibrant cities. Visitors flocked to explore the ancient ruins of Lorapini, the majestic waterfalls of Banfora, and the bustling markets of Ouagadougou. Burkina Faso's strategic location made it an important hub for regional trade and commerce. The nation's ports and transportation networks were upgraded, facilitating the flow of goods and services across West Africa. As the nation looked to the future, President Traoré's government prioritized environmental sustainability. Renewable energy sources powered homes, industries, and transportation systems. Green spaces were protected and expanded, preserving Burkina Faso's natural beauty for generations to come. Let's get one thing straight. The situation Captain Traoré inherited in 2022 was a catastrophe. Burkina Faso was, and still is, battling a brutal insurgency that has killed thousands and displaced millions. For years, the country has been near the very bottom of the UN's Human Development Index, a grim measurement of the poverty and lack of opportunity its people face. Despite sitting on some of the richest gold deposits in Africa, the economy was almost entirely dependent on foreign powers and institutions. International companies extracted most of the nation's mineral wealth, with the profits flowing straight out of the country. This left almost nothing for the people who actually live on the land. This cycle of dependency created a deep-seated frustration, a feeling that Burkina Faso was a sovereign nation in name only. It's this exact pain point that Traoré's movement tapped into, promising a radical break from the past. Soon after Traoré came to power, social media lit up with claims that Burkina Faso was now a tax-free country. The story was intoxicating, a young African leader throwing off what he called the neo-colonial tools of economic control. But is there any truth to these viral posts? The reality is a lot more complex, and frankly, more strategic than just canceling all taxes. There is no zero-tax policy in Burkina Faso. In fact, the 2025 Finance Act actually brought in new taxes and widened the tax base. One of the key measures extended the value-added tax, VAT, to cover goods and services sold on e-commerce platforms. So, what's really going on? The goal isn't tax abolition, it's about achieving economic sovereignty. Instead of getting rid of taxes, Traoré's government is fundamentally changing who profits from the nation's wealth. The core of his economic plan is resource nationalism, and the government has moved aggressively to take greater control over its most valuable asset, gold. Under a revised mining code, the government automatically gets a bigger ownership stake in new mining projects, making sure more of the profits stay in Burkina Faso. The government has also taken over major industrial mines, like the Bungu and Wagnian mines, and placed them under the control of a state-owned company. The message couldn't be clearer. The era of foreign companies extracting wealth with little benefit for the Burkinabe people is over. Maybe the most ambitious project of all is the construction of the nation's first national gold refinery. For decades, Burkina Faso's gold was shipped overseas for processing, which meant another layer of value was created outside its borders. This new refinery, with a planned capacity of 150 tons a year, is a game-changer. It's designed to process the gold at home, build up a national gold reserve for the first time, and create local jobs. The government reports that these efforts are already paying off. The National Precious Metals Company collected over 8 tons of gold in 2024 and an incredible 11 tons in just the first quarter of 2025, mainly by bringing the informal, small-scale mining sector into the formal economy. This isn't about zero taxes, it's about getting maximum value. It's a complete restructuring of the economy to use the nation's own resources to pay for its own development. This is a bold and controversial strategy that directly challenges the established global economic order. What do you think? Can resource nationalism truly fund a nation's development, or are the risks of scaring off foreign investors just too high? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. But what good is an economic revolution if you don't develop the people who will lead it? That brings us to the second big promise, the one that truly captured the world's imagination. In April 2025, President Traoré's government announced an ambitious goal, to make education in Burkina Faso completely free, from primary school all the way through university. The vision laid out was breathtaking. It included getting rid of all school fees, providing free textbooks for primary students, and even proposed a monthly stipend of 100,000 CFA francs for university students, along with access to free university housing. For a country where getting an education has always been a massive struggle, this wasn't just a reform, it was a revolution in the making. For generations, even when primary school was technically free, hidden costs for supplies and other fees were huge barriers for countless families. This new vision aims to tear down every single one of those barriers. The objective is clear: empower the youth, create a more equal society by giving every child the same starting line, and build the human capital needed for long-term economic growth. Now, we have to be realistic. While the goal has been announced, turning a policy of this scale into reality is a monumental challenge. Some critics have questioned if it's even possible, pointing to the enormous funding and infrastructure required. Making this vision a reality for everyone in the country will demand a massive, sustained effort to build schools, train teachers, and secure funding for the long haul. The online chatter often makes these policies sound like they happened overnight, but the truth is, this is just the beginning of a long and difficult journey. Still, you can't overstate how audacious this vision is. By declaring education a fundamental right that should be free for all, Traoré's government has planted a seed for the future. It's a long-term bet on the 23 million people of Burkina Faso, a bet that the nation's most valuable resource isn't the gold in the ground, but the minds of its children. These two pillars, economic sovereignty and mass education, aren't just separate policies. They're the bedrock of a much bigger vision, a Burkina Faso that is truly independent, prosperous, and self-reliant. This vision goes beyond its borders, representing a new chapter in the story of Pan-Africanism. Traoré's government has made huge geopolitical shifts, moving away from its historical dependence on Western powers, especially its former colonial ruler, France. It officially withdrew from the ECOWAS bloc in January 2025 and formed a new strategic alliance with its neighbors, Mali and Niger, called the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. This is a coalition of nations led by military governments that are facing similar struggles and share a similar dream of sovereignty. This pivot isn't just about security, it's about creating a new center of gravity in the Sahel, one built on mutual support and a shared desire to chart their own course, free from outside influence. They have ambitious plans for infrastructure, like a proposed $253 million inland logistics hub, designed to break the country's reliance on coastal ports and make it a trade gateway for the whole region. This is the big picture. The fight for control over gold mines and the vision of a free education for every child are battles in a larger war for true independence. It's an attempt to prove that an African nation can reject the economic models pushed by institutions like the IMF and the World Bank and still build a thriving economy. It's a direct answer to decades of what many see as exploitation, and it's a message that deeply connects with a young African population that is tired of the old stories of poverty and dependency. The story of Burkina Faso under Captain Ibrahim Traoré is unfolding in real time. It's a complex and difficult journey, full of incredible promise but also massive hurdles. The transformation is not as simple as the viral headlines about free education and zero taxes might make it seem. The path of resource nationalism is risky, and delivering on the promise of free, universal education is a monumental task that will take years, if not decades, to fully achieve. But something has clearly changed. There's a new energy, a new sense of hope and national pride that you can almost feel. Traoré's government has challenged the world to see Burkina Faso not as a victim, but as the master of its own destiny. By taking on the twin challenges of economic dependency and educational inequality, they are trying to build a future from the ground up, a future where the nation's wealth is finally invested in its own people. Can this high-stakes gamble pay off? Can a nation really rewrite its own story by reclaiming its resources and educating its youth? The answer won't just shape the future of 23 million Burkinabe, it could offer a powerful new blueprint for a self-reliant Africa. What if what once seemed impossible is actually within reach?